guys, this is Kelly. I am back with another process video. This layout is for Cocoa Daisy and I am using the August kit and it is called Letterpress. And I just trimmed off the little bit of packaging that the Maggie Holmes bows came on because it is gorgeous and I want to use it on this page. So this floral paper from Fancy Pants is just beautiful. And I will tell you that I saw this online and I really wasn't impressed with it. I thought it was okay. It just wasn't something that I was going to, go out and purchase of my own. I am so glad that I got this in this kit. It is gorgeous, just gorgeous. And I am thrilled. I just can't even tell you how much that it surprised me with how much that I ended up loving that floral. So I've just pulled out a few of the papers that I want to work with this photo. This photo is of my husband's family. It's of his parents and his aunt. And I've had this kind of, put aside to scrapbook. The colors, that the dark brown of the house, the wood, just, it's a funny color. And sometimes converting, when a picture is taken in black and white and converting it, sometimes I think detail just, it doesn't look quite the same. I mean, some pictures are definitely meant to be color, some black and white, but because this is a photocopy of it, the black and white just looked kind of fuzzy. So I knew that at some point I was going to be able to find papers, a collection, a kit to work with this photo, and this is definitely the one. So I am taking this gorgeous floral and it's got a pretty B side too. A lot of times I only really like one side of the paper, but this particular paper, I love both sides. And it's just, it's not like an arrow paper. I don't quite know how to describe it, but it's gorgeous. It's very, I think, gender neutral, very theme neutral. I think you can use the paper with a lot of different things. So I want to have another photo mat for the photo, and generally I would mount it on white cardstock, but I felt like with this I didn't need the white cardstock. I'm just going to go ahead and mount it directly onto one of the exclusive papers in the kit. That exclusive paper is white with like an aqua newsprint, and I felt like it was light enough that I didn't need the white border. Plus it just gave a little bit of that pretty aqua color detail that's so subtle, but it works well with the colors and the papers that I have chosen. So I wanted to see if I could get some of that marble paper on this layout as well. So you're going to see me playing around with it. I don't end up getting the marble paper, but when I flip it over, I'm going to use the other side of it. And it's really pretty map paper in like a butter yellow. And the map paper has nothing to do with this layout. But when you see just little bits of a map paper, you don't necessarily know that it is map paper, if that makes sense. And all you really see is some of that warm tones that is also in the Fancy Pants papers. So they just really work well together. So I've pulled out some doilies from my stash. I'm going to end up using 2 doilies on this layout. This layout was created for the Designers Challenge. And the Designers Challenge this month was a tic-tac-toe challenge. And if I remember, I'm going to put it in the video as I'm going through my voiceover now. I realized I don't have it in, and I'm going to see if I can get it in for you real quick. If not, it is in the Facebook Cocoa Daisy Challenge group. And for the tic-tac-toe challenge, I chose a diagonal, and that was to include hand or machine stitching and to use a bow, and the middle was a free space. So if you guys have followed me, you would say that was no surprise on the ones that I chose to do. Some of the other squares were to fussy cut, use a day in the life or project life card, which I end up doing, using a decorative paper clip, multiple photos, a circular element, or mixed media. So I actually get 4 of the squares onto this page, but it really just, called for, the challenge was just to, have tic-tac-toe like in a line. So I am really trying hard to get this black and white bow that came in the kit onto this page. And right there by itself, it looks perfect. But my problem comes when I want to use this floral die cut that is from Fancy Pants that you see just to the left of my hand. I really want to put that on the layout as well because I like the bit of floral repeated from the paper from the top and the bottom. And I just, it's a struggle when you've got two different things that you really want to use, trying to figure out how to get them onto the page, especially when both of them are somewhat large, because that floral die cut is big and so is the bow. So I'm finding places of where I want things, and because I can't quite make up my mind what I want to do, I'm going to go ahead and sew on my page. So I went ahead and I sewed down the top and the bottom, and then I just sewed the edges of a couple of the paper layers, and I've just kind of pulled them up a little bit just for a little bit of dimension. And you know, somebody had mentioned that, you know, all of the dimension in their albums, you know, they were worried about it. When you do things like this with the sewing and the pulling up the paper, I find that, you know, I store my albums upright and that I still have the dimension on my pages with that because there's not weight on the page. Since they're upright, there's nothing to really flatten it. And it doesn't like bow out the page protector and mark that up. So it doesn't take up a lot of space because, you know, it isn't an album and you do want to be able to get a decent amount of layouts in your album. So I get that. So I decided to back the photo with the dark cardstock that was also a Cocoa Daisy exclusive, and I pulled in a Vicky Bouton tag that was from a previous kit, and I just liked the way that it, you know, had a little bit of a vintage feel, and it works well with the Fancy Pants collection as well. So I have decided that I am going to use that large floral die cut. I just, you know, there's some things that are just meant to be, and I really felt like that needed to be right there on that day in the life card. I felt like it was perfect, and you know, I am going to get the bow used up on another layout. So I went in my stash and I had a couple of bow dies. I have the one that I'm working with now and the one that you see on my desk. And I decided to use this one because it was a little bit bigger and I'm just piecing it together. And again, I used that dark paper, and I used that because there's enough of the dark in the layout that I thought that it would be a nice bit of contrast without making the page feel too dark and heavy. The photo's dark, and when I have a dark photo, I definitely want to keep things light and bright because that's just the look I like. So you know, and before I would be very hesitant to use black and white or dark papers, dark accents on the page, but I find that it gives the contrast to the page that sometimes it's missing and sometimes that it is needed. So if you're like me and struggle with that, just use a little bit of it, and you can see at the end that the little bits of black and I think maybe a little bit of navy in the paper, I can't quite tell. It's one of those so dark that it could be black or dark navy. But anyway, I find that I think that they work well together, and that a little bit goes a long way, and it gives the contrast that is needed and that looks nice with it. So I want to go ahead and get things stuck down. I'm loving the way that the layout is coming together, and I just trimmed a little bit off that doily so I could tuck it underneath the photo. And I'm just going to go ahead and use my ATG gun and adhere it down. And with that die cut, I think that that smaller bow fits perfectly, and it brings that little bit extra that I want, as well as meeting the challenge. So I want to go ahead and use some gold Heidi Swap Color Shine on the background, and I find that if I can remember to do the mist before I put down the photo, that I am much happier with the placement, because if I'm trying to control my splatters, I don't control them very well, and I end up getting either a blob or I get it where I don't want it. So if I can just remember to do it before I, adhere everything down, I find that it just works better for me. So I want to go ahead and get everything stuck down. I am going to journal on that Project Life card. I'm going to do it though with my husband. I want to make sure that he doesn't want to say anything else since it's his side of the family, and other than who is in the picture and where they were. So this is pretty much it. I'm going to go through the puffy stickers. There are stickers from Fancy Pants that go with the collection, and then there's also exclusive stickers, and I do use a little bit of both. And then I also pull in some of the sequins from a previous kit. They are from Spiegel Mom Scraps, and I just put a couple of those in the clusters as well, and they finish off the page beautifully. They're pretty peach and clear sequins. I know that this has to probably be 6 months ago that they came into a kit, and I'm still using them. I love it when I get things like that I can use for multiple layouts and multiple kits. I just think that really makes your stash, it stretches your stash, and those are things that I like. So thanks so much for joining me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this and gives you maybe some inspiration on documenting some of your older photos. I will have another process video for Cocoa Daisy coming up soon. So thanks so much. I hope you guys have a great day. Take care. Bye.